Can we talk about how one of the biggest boy bands of all time usually didn't get a lot of attention from the United States? So their record label decided to use one of their other boy bands to promote One Direction.
Ooh, Daniel. No. Say One D's record label paired them as the opener for Big Time Rush because One Direction wasn't getting a lot of attention in the US is wildly incorrect. So wildly incorrect as to nearly be offensive. Give you a pass because you weren't there when it happened, and so you probably wouldn't have any reason to know. Simple search would have shown you that Kendall Schmidt of Big Time Rush has already confirmed that the opposite was true 9 years ago. One Direction was the opening act on 10 out of the 16 shows for Big Time Rush's Better With You tour in 2012. I was at 3 of those 10 shows, and let me tell you, I was not at those shows for Big Time Rush. I bought tickets to see One Direction. And I was not the only person who did that. Dozens of fans left every show before Big Time Rush, the headliner, even took the stage. They were there for One Direction, and after One Direction finished, they left. It was so well known that this was happening that if you were planning to stay, you would plan to meet up with people either in the bathrooms or by the concession stands so that you could take a ticket from someone who was a Directioner who was leaving early so that you could get a better seat. Loads of people did this because loads of people went to the Big Time Rush show only to see One Direction. I met at least 3 people who bought VIP tickets for Big Time Rush because they thought meet and greet would include meeting and greeting the opening act. It did not. I also don't think it's a coincidence that the 6 shows of the tour that sold out immediately after tickets went on sale were 6 of the shows that One Direction was opening for. Consider that while One Direction was in the middle of opening for Big Time Rush, they had their first album signing in the US in Natick, Massachusetts. I was at that too. And here's a relevant story. They ran out of bracelets for the event while there were still over 1,000 people in the queue waiting for bracelets, including me, who was 10 people away from the door when they ran out of bracelets. Don't get me started. But hey, that Natick event, which took place in the middle of 1D opening for Big Time Rush because they weren't getting a lot of attention in the US, when their first album wasn't even released in the US yet, 5,000 fans showed up at Natick Mall after bracelets ran out, just to watch the signing take place and catch a glimpse of 1D in real life. 5,000! One Direction was scheduled to play the Today Show a few days after that, and after hearing about how many people showed up for the signing in Natick, the New York City police stepped in to ensure that NBC would be hosting the concert at the Plaza instead of in front of the studio, citing concerns of overcrowding. One Direction was so popular in the US that it was now a public safety concern. Despite moving the show to the Plaza, which had a greater capacity, the show still ended up being over capacity because 15,000 fans showed up. Streets had to be shut down in the middle of morning rush hour, and the fans that were spilling out into the street could not see them perform. People showed up first thing in the morning just to hear the music played live. Big Time Rush actually played on the Today Show a year and a half before One Direction did. Their crowd was half the size. It's a good thing One Direction weren't getting a lot of attention in the US. Like, imagine if they were. The whole city would have been shut down.